Welcome to Notebook Summaries. Today, we're diving into the history of a nation that's really been defined by its location and its just unbreakable spirit, and that's Latvia.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to journey from these ancient tribes and Viking trade routes, then slog through centuries of conflict and foreign rule, right up to the birth of a nation and its fight for a place in modern Europe.
So, let's kick things off way back. Our story starts right after the last ice age, around 9000 BC. That's when the very first settlers showed up. But it wasn't until Baltic tribes arrived, along with a pretty unique local resource, that the land we now call Latvia really got connected to the wider world.
So for, literally thousands of years, you have these early cultures developing. This all leads up to the Iron Age, where you start to see distinct Baltic tribes, like the Curonians and the Ledgalians, begin to form their own little chiefdoms. And this wasn't some isolated corner of the world either. Get this, during the Vendel period, Scandinavians even set up a settlement near Grobinja, which just goes to show how connected the area was even way back then.
Okay, but what really put this place on the ancient map was something you might not expect. Amber. Yep, fossilized tree resin. Latvia's coast was famous for it, and it was so valuable that it created this massive trade route called the Amber Road to get it all the way south. In a lot of places, it was seen as more valuable than gold. The Roman elite couldn't get enough of it for jewelry, making this region a crucial trading hub from the very beginning.
But here's the thing, all that prosperity and being in such a strategic spot on the Baltic coast, it came with a huge price tag. The very things that made the region wealthy also made it a massive target. And for the next 700 plus years, Latvia's territory would become a battleground for all the big surrounding powers. And that target? Well, it got hit. In the 12th century, a huge change happens. German traders and crusaders arrive. They forcibly convert the local pagan tribes to Christianity and set up a state they called Terra Mariana, which was basically run by military orders. This kicked off a really long period where a German-speaking minority ruled as the landowning elite over the local population.
This slide, wow, it really lays it all out. It's like a revolving door of empires. After the German orders, control flips to the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth. Then the Swedish Empire takes over, and finally, Peter the Great conquers the region and it gets absorbed into the massive Russian Empire. And every single one of them left their mark.
Okay, but not all rulers are created equal, right? And this is where things get really interesting. Swedish rule actually brought some pretty big reforms. They got rid of serfdom on crown lands and even started offering education to the peasants. People still remember this as the good Swedish times because it was the first little spark of empowerment for the Latvian people. But then early Russian rule did the exact opposite. It just doubled down on the power of the local German nobles.
So after all this, after centuries of being passed from one empire to the next, you'd think the local culture would just disappear. But that's not what happened. Something started to bubble up. A truly distinct Latvian identity, fueled by culture and education, began to take shape, and it sparked this incredible drive for independence.
By the time we hit the late 1800s, things were really heating up. Latvia had become one of the most developed parts of the Russian Empire. You've got all this new industry, creating a new, literate working class, especially in the city of Riga. This made for a potent mix, where the people were primed for both radical leftist ideas and a powerful wave of nationalism, both aimed right at the ruling classes.
Then came World War I, and the cost, it was just staggering. Look at this number, 500,000. That's how many refugees fled just one region of Latvia in 1915 alone. The Russian army ordered a scorched earth retreat, and it just completely devastated the area, forcing a massive chunk of the population from their homes.
So you've got two massive empires, the Russian and the German, crumbling at the same time. Total chaos, right? And right in the middle of it all, Latvia sees its chance. Its forces had to fight this incredibly complicated war on multiple fronts, against Bolsheviks and German-backed troops. But against all odds, they did it. They secured their freedom, and Soviet Russia officially recognized it in 1920.
But that hard-won freedom, tragically, it wasn't going to last. The brand new nation was now stuck between the two most destructive totalitarian powers of the 20th century, Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union.
And this timeline is it's brutal. It's hard to even wrap your head around how fast this all happened. First, a secret pact between Hitler and Stalin seals Latvia's fate. Then the Soviets invade, followed by the first mass deportations to Siberia.
A year later, Nazi Germany invades, bringing its own reign of terror, including the Holocaust, which killed around 85,000 people in Latvia. Then, in 1944, the Soviets come back, starting nearly 50 more years of occupation. So, after the war, Latvia is back under Soviet control for the long haul. And for the next 45 years, a very deliberate policy kicks in: Russification. They actively promoted Russian language and culture and shipped in workers from other Soviet republics. And look at this chart. The effect was dramatic. It brought the proportion of ethnic Latvians in their own country down from 77% to just 52% by 1989.
But even after decades of occupation, decades of trying to water down the culture, that dream of independence, it never really died. In fact, it was reborn through peaceful but incredibly powerful protests that became known as the Singing Revolution.
This led to one of the most incredible protests of the 20th century. It's called the Baltic Way. On the 50th anniversary of that secret Nazi-Soviet pact, millions of Latvians, Estonians, and Lithuanians all joined hands. They formed a 600-kilometer human chain linking all three of their capitals together to protest Soviet rule. It was this amazing symbol of unity and defiance that nobody could ignore.
And once independence was restored for good in August 1991, Latvia didn't waste a single second. They moved fast to rejoin the world and integrate with the West. And look at this. Within just 2 decades, they checked off all their major foreign policy goals, joining the UN, getting security through NATO, and becoming a full member of the European Union.
So when you look back, from the ancient Amber Road all the way to its place in the heart of the European Union, it's just an incredible story of resilience. The real question now is, how will this nation, a nation forged at the crossroads of empires, define its own path forward?
Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this and want to explore more histories like it, make sure to check out our Quick Country Histories playlist. And of course, subscribe to Notebook Summaries.